was actually a 6-year drug addiction to prescription pain pills and heroin that led me to jail, which ultimately led me to the Doors of Teen Challenge. I remember taking my first pill at the age of 14 and thinking that I found the remedy and the fix for all of the pain that I experienced as a child through watching my father in his addiction and pretty much losing everything that I had. That was when Teen Challenge was presented to me, and it had been presented to me before in the past, but I was not ready for it and I was not willing because I knew it would be probably difficult. But this time I was ready and I was willing, and I asked the Lord to please get me there. I was walked through a lot of challenging seasons of healing and facing myself and facing my problems, and it caused me to have to look at myself and to find out the reason why I was doing drugs and why I needed it so bad and why I got into the life that I was living and where did that hurt start. Literally just 3 years ago, I was homeless. I was living in the woods as a drug addict, and the rapid and intense change that has happened in just a matter of 3 years, it just shocks me and it amazes me.
My story begins when I was 8 years old. I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, a severe, rare form of it. I've had over 60 procedures from the ages of 8 to 19. They started me on a series of medications, including painkillers, a very high dose of painkillers. The more I took, the more I could escape the pain and suffering that I was going through. By the time I was 19, I was severely addicted to painkillers. I believed I wasn't worth anything. I wasn't worth enough, and I always thought that I was sick and in pain for a reason, and that no one out there loved me. Now, my belief has changed, and through Teen Challenge, I can love and I am worth something. It really is amazing that when you stay faithful, that your relationships are reconciled through this program, because it gives you a chance to just get together and talk things out and to stop putting masks on and being fake about things. It really has opened the door for my family to be able to become a family and not just be there. Since being here, they have really taught me to find my worth in God. It's not easy, but you have a family here, and they show love and compassion towards you, and they pick you back up, and they help you through the things. And it's a whole lot better than where you're at right now. And from my perspective, seeing where I was a year ago and how far I've come now, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
When I was younger, I had a lot of learning disabilities. My biggest one, I was ADD. Parents put me on Adderall. After that, I started drinking heavily. I was taking other pills with Adderall. I was smoking weed, doing ecstasy. During the partying time, I met my son's father. When we got married, there was a lot of verbal abuse, physical abuse. When I got out of the marriage, I went into a deep depression. The minimum limit for Adderall is 90 pills a month. I was taking over 200 pills a month. Coming through the doors, I was very broken. Didn't feel like anything, could help me. I had no hope whatsoever. I didn't trust anybody. When I came through the doors, it took me a while, to get it. I think the mentorship was probably the biggest thing. They showed me unconditional love. Like, I felt like no one loved me. And that was through, years of just not feeling that worth. They didn't just love me, but they fought for me. They're fighting for my life. My relationship with my son has been fully restored. He's excited for me to get out and be his mother again, and I'm excited to be able to be the mother that God has always intended me to be.
If you would have asked me where I would end up, I would tell you that this is not what I had in mind for my future. This is not who I thought that I was going to be. I had a bright future planned out, but it didn't turn out that way. I had injuries from gymnastics and from being active as a young adult, and so once I started taking prescription medication for that, it took everything away. It made everything better. I didn't have to feel, I didn't have to worry about if somebody liked me or not, because it didn't matter. You know, I could be whoever the occasion called for. And I had burned every bridge, you know, from my mom, my dad, all of my friends. Nobody trusted me. Nobody wanted to have anything to do with me. And I was on the brink of being homeless. You know, my mom said, if you don't figure this out, then there's nothing I can do. It was around that time that my best friend had passed away of natural causes. And after that, I tried to commit suicide multiple times. And every time I woke up, I was mad because I didn't understand why, you know, he would be gone, but I was still here and I wasn't a good person. And around that time, someone called my mom and said she needs to call Teen Challenge. And my first response was, I'm not a teenager. That was my first response. But I started looking into it and started reading about it, and I thought, why not? You know, I've tried everything else, and I honestly thought that the only way I would ever get sober is if I died. You know, I had tried multiple secular rehabs. I had tried doing it on my own, you know, but every time something would, you know, happen and I would go right back to it. I was never strong enough to do it on my own. And so I remember calling Teen Challenge and speaking to the staff, and, you know, and just it was like a light on the other side of the phone. It was something that was, and it was somebody that I could relate to. Somebody could tell me that they had been right where I was and that there was hope on the other end of it. There was something else besides where I was, the darkness that I was in. They're prayerful about every single thing that they do. They love you exactly for who you are, you know, your faults, everything that's all bundled up into the little mess that you are when you come walking in the door. And they embrace it, and they try to help you bring the stuff up and, you know, realize that there's something bigger, there's something deeper inside of you, why you did the things that you did. But that's okay, because with them and with God, they're gonna help you get to it, and they're gonna help you walk through it, because you're not doing this alone anymore. For me, I have sisters. You know, for the first time in my life, I have sisters. And sisters that love me exactly for who I am. I wouldn't have had that anywhere else but here.